Welcome to BrotoGP. This is episode number 71. We are coming at you after the Austrian round and motherfucking Dovizioso. I was waiting for Kev to say something there, but he didn't. Kev is here.
What? You're supposed to introduce me, dog. You completely changed the introduction of the format. I was all ready. You were going to be like, "What's this, episode 71, and Dovizioso is one. All with me on the always is Kevin on the phone." And then I answer, episode 71, Race Wars.
We tried a little improvisation, and I'll edit it and make it work. That'll happen.
I had a whole joke. You can't say it's improvisation and then claim you're going to edit it, bro. Who the fuck is he talking about, Everett?
Oh, I don't know, but it was pretty cool.
Right.
That was awesomely bad.
Right.
Oh, man. Everett is here, too.
I'm here. Thanks for filling in, Dennis.
Hey, Dennis did a great job. Don't bag on Papa Dude.
I was being genuine. Dennis talks shit about me. I'm always nice to Dennis. It's okay.
But I feel like every time you say I'm always nice to Dennis, you're being ironic or sarcastic or something that makes it not genuine.
Now he's just humble bragging. Right? He's like humble bragging, and then he's gonna post pictures about how he spent his weekend fucking working in the soup kitchen because those people are just so genuine, and he's just so touched to be around them. You know what I mean? Like just real good people. Humble brag all day, son.
Oh man! All right, well here I got some humble brag for you. Fucking this episode is of course brought to you by RiderzLaw. RiderzLaw, they're California motorcycle accident injury lawyers. And if you didn't go to Sonoma, you missed some RiderzLaw winning freaking 600 super stock races. So there's your humble brag. But they are amazing lawyers. And if you ever get into an accident on the street, you ever need some legal help, they will definitely take care of you. They are taking care of us. They're taking care of racing in the United States. They will take care of you as a street motorcycle. Check them out. Check out RiderzLaw.com. Help us out. Help them out, and help yourself out. Yeah.
The actual humble brag that he's talking about is someone is paying us to do this. So I'm just humble bragging slightly. Someone's actually paying us to record this episode.
Those guys were plastered all over Moto America this past weekend too. So
yeah,
big props to them for stepping up and supporting that series.
Every time they Moto America would call them, they essentially up their sponsorship. Like at first they were just the KTM sponsor, then they became they were KTM for Sonoma, then they became KTM for Sonoma and Laguna, then they became the whole presenting sponsor for Sonoma.
Poor Sonoma, yeah.
All right, so the lesson to be learned, dear listeners, is every time you call Cy and say give Kevin a Zuma, it's one step closer to a RiderzLaw vinyl wrapped Zuma zipping around Northern California like a boss.
And he's not joking. No, Cy has specifically told me that it's starting to work. So people, someone just blow up his email. Go to RiderzLaw.com, click contact us, and say Kev needs a Zuma.
Right. Exactly.
Should we get into some MotoGP racing though?
Yes.
Let's do it. So
indeed,
the first thing Indubitably.
Everett concurs. Everett, do you concur?
I concur.
These statements embiggen the poorest man.
Yes, they embiggen the smallest man. For right now, straight up, anyone who hears this and can tell me what cromulent means gets a free shirt.
Just giving shit away.
Right now, yeah.
If you're a woman small, you get one now. If you're not,
exactly.
then you get one later.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It embiggens the noblest man or whatever.
The noblest man. That's what it was.
It's a perfectly cromulent word.
Jesus
so
Christ.
if you haven't realized,
you can find that shirt right behind that yellow lemon-shaped rock over there. Wait a minute. There's a lemon behind that rock.
I just watched that episode an hour ago. I had to drop it in there. Oh man, if you haven't noticed, we are all about entertainment here, and that's exactly what we got on the last lap of the MotoGP race in Austria. So that's the first thing to talk about. Dovizioso rode an amazingly smart race. Marquez made sure that the last lap was entertaining as fuck, and it was amazing.
Yeah, so it's been a while since I literally was standing up screaming at the television. You know what I mean? Like, motherfucking Dovi! Like, you know what I mean? Like, I put my balls in the line with this one. I said he was going to win on Thursday night when I posted. And I was like, fuck, Marquez's race pace looks gangster, and he got pole, and the Ducatis aren't looking quite as invincible, but he's a fucking wily veteran, that Dovi.
Yeah, you're right, though. The Ducatis were not looking very invincible, and yet he rode to his strengths, and he made sure to cover where Marquez was better, especially on the final lap. Like, we saw that Marquez was freaking amazing into the only two left-hand corners. And actually, at the end of the race, if you look at Dovi's tire, the left side of the rear tire was a little bit torn, which we don't see that often on GP bikes. But after getting passed twice into the lefts, like about midway through, Dovi covers tight, gives up a few tenths, and then set the fucker up in the final corner.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was crazy, like, that last lap, just, it literally, I mean, I hate to use the word barn burner, you know, because it seems so cliche, but it was just, shit was fire, dude. I was literally standing, yelling at the TV, you know, very few riders in the last 5 years, are ones who are going to take, you know, are going to be on the receiving end of a final lap, balls out, Marquez pass, and come out on top. That, you know what I mean? Like, that's few and far between riders. And Dovizioso basically played him like a fiddle. He literally said he knew Marquez was going to try some stupid shit at the end, so he could take the normal line and get run into and then lose, or he could adjust his line to let him through and then beat him to the finish with the drag race. I mean,
I was going to say, that's exactly what I was going to say. I wasn't clearing my throat to interrupt you. I had too much scotch. But
Scotch.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, Dovi just knew that he was going to do something, and sure enough, it happened. And then last lap, shenanigans, and Dovi just rolled on through. It's almost like he knew it, and he knew he'd go up underneath them and get the drive. But you knew it was going to happen. And it was a predictable yet exciting last lap, right? It was the culmination of the entire race for one lap.
Well,
right.
We saw those over-under sort of passes in all three races throughout the weekend, right? Like, a lot of people were running deep into these 90-degree corners onto long straights, and then the person that got passed would pull the under and pass them down the straightaway. So Dovi probably watched all the other two races. He saw it happen in all the other laps, and he just made it happen. Like, I feel like Dovizioso rode the smartest possible race that he could. Even midway through, I almost felt like he didn't actually want to lead the race. Like, he only got into the lead because Marquez blew turn one, if I'm not mistaken. And it's just like, you know, we've talked about that before. When you're leading, you're showing the people behind you exactly what you've got, because you can't slow down all that much, right? You let Marquez lead, he doesn't learn anything, and it makes it a little easier towards the end of the race. But Dovi ended up leading a bit, and that's where he learned to cover the left-handers.
I real quick, I want to give props to HRC, because you look at last year's race and it was just a runaway Ducati show. This race, at least Honda brought their game, figured out how to tune the bike properly so that it could handle these 90-degree turns and be competitive, and we got a good show out of it. So that was pretty cool.
It was interesting, too, because, like, the common wisdom was Ducati has the acceleration, they have the top end, and then Honda makes it up on the brakes, but you almost saw the opposite. That Honda was pulling on the Ducati tons of times, and then Dovi was making a ton of time up on brakes, and he looked so stable. You know, Marquez made a comment that when he was behind Dovizioso, Dovi looked incredibly smooth and in control, but then when Marquez was in front, leading, he felt totally out of control. And I think, you know, that bike in a weird way was set up so well that Dovi was as confident as possible on the brakes and not giving up enough, you know, whatever setup change they made, to where even though the Honda had much more acceleration compared to last year, they weren't giving up enough, but that bike was so neutral in the in-corner entry that Dovi was just way more in control, and the bike needed to be wrung its neck much less than the Honda.
Yeah, I mean, that's what even Gigi's saying that right now, that they've sacrificed a little bit of the aggressiveness and a little bit of the top-end speed for balance. And that's exactly what's going to make a title challenger of a motorcycle, is being able to have that balance so that it can make little tweaks, do well at every single racetrack instead of just the racetracks that favor crazy top speed.
You know what's gonna fucking make a badass title challenger is when the fucking crazy kid runs it up on the inside and Dovi hands his ass back to him and throws the deuces at him as he fucking passes him for the win. Fuck you, bitch! And then Dovi saying he was straight pissed that Marquez even tried that shit. Like, even though he knew he was going to do it, that was not a passing zone. It's not a spot that you should be attempting passes. Dovi knew it, adjusted his line, and then was still pissed that Marquez even tried that shit. And that's a difference this year, man. Dovi is getting wins, and he is not backing down from Marquez, and he's got a fire under his ass. Not the same fire that we haven't seen so far. You know what I mean? Like, Dovi was always sort of given the, well, he just kind of accepts. I mean, last year they said it. When Iannone ended up taking the lead and winning, Dovi accepted it. Dovi has never really been the guy that, like, you know, fights till the very end, the bitter end. He kind of accepts his podiums, his seconds, and his thirds, and that. This year's different, and here's him, you know, taking it to Marquez and whooping his ass. Fuck you, Marquez.
Well, the difference is he has a shot for the title this year. It's not I'm racing for the random win every now and then where my bike suits it. It's I'm a contender, and in the past, Marc Marquez would just rough you up, and you'd just be like, he's faster, I'll let him go. Now he's like, fuck you, you're not faster, and I got a championship I'm after. I'm going to go back and fucking get it back.
Well,
so he did that.
And he has that confidence of actually having a bike that he feels is working consistently better everywhere. And I mean, confidence is everything.
Correction, that is called swagger.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. When was the last time that Marquez tried to dive bomb someone and that guy swagged all over his ass on the way to the finish line? You know what I mean?
And it didn't work, right?
Straight,
he didn't pull it off. He pulls it off usually.
Styling on Marquez. Shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then he flipped them off on top of it all.
Right,
yeah, almost.
And then fucking in the post-race press conference, he was like, I felt something on my back tire, and Marquez laughs with his stupid, like, giddy, I'm like a young kid at heart laugh. Oh, I touched your tire. And Dovi just shakes his head and fucking Captain Picard face palms. You fucking idiot. Like, you had no hope of making that pass. You're touching my tire. You're riding like a jackass. I got the same amount of wins as you, dog, this year.
But, okay, let me ask just a very basic question, because I can't fault Marquez. Do you blame him, or would you prefer he had not tried to make that pass, right? So, as much as Dovi didn't like it, it was awesome.
It was
he had
the
to do
perfect attempt. Yeah, he had to do it. It was the perfect attempt. There is no way, like, it's Marquez we're talking about, right? Like, he might have looked out of control, but he was still in control, and he wasn't going to take someone out. If Zarco had tried that, we would be talking about a completely different situation, and we would, like, we'd be calling for that fucker to get, like, penalty points or something if they still existed.
This actually brings up a good point that my homeboy Panagali John messaged me earlier today. There's a Marquez quote, which was, maybe last year I didn't take the risk because the advantage was much bigger in the championship, but in this championship everything is very tight, everything is very close, so if you can get one more point you have to try. This will be the mentality, the philosophy from here to the last race. And what's interesting is that's Marquez proving he's feeling a little desperate. He has to try. But look what happens when he has to try. The very first time he decides to implement this new mentality and philosophy, smacked down, son. I mean, straight stepfathered by Dovi yesterday. You know what I mean? For real.
Well, and as much as I didn't get a record on the last episode, and I actually got to be on the other side listening, you guys brought it up. It's basically a crapshoot, right? There's no calculations. Every freaking race matters, and every position matters, because you could be Vinales getting 8th place one race, or getting 1st place or 2nd. The gap and the randomness to the whole thing is just so diverse that you've got to take every win and every position you can get. Every time. You can't ever take it for granted.
And I respect it too, because to a certain extent, because as I've said, Everett, you and I have talked about, like, who's the real, contender. Is then one of my points is that, Marquez's wins this year have all been at the races you expect him to win at. His A game. His A tracks he gets his wins. But the secret to winning this year is going to be stealing ones from other guys. You know what I mean? Like Family Feud style. It doesn't matter if you get all the answers. If you steal it, you know what I mean? You're good to go.
All about the steal. That's how you really win.
Right, and Dovi stole wins this season at the beginning of the year with those 2 back-to-backs. This was the race most people, would pencil in at the beginning of the year Dovi would do well. Everyone thought he had the chance to win here, and Marquez was trying to steal that play, and it didn't work out. But it shows that he knows he has to steal that shit. But I mean, I don't know.
To that point, second place kind of was stealing it. We'll get there later on, but that was stealing it in second. He almost really stole it with the first, but he got shown up by Dovi.
It is very, and to me, it's an interesting tactic because when people are looking for points in championships, like we've seen this towards the end of the season, someone's got a big gap and they just try and win it. They go conservative. They don't go balls to the wall. Like, I wonder if this is the right. Yeah, I wonder if this is the right play for Marquez. Like, it worked this time.
Is the right play. Hold on. This is the right play for the series and for us as fans, because usually you come out of here and it's like, well, we kind of see who's going to run away with it. It's like, no, we talked about this. You go through the break, you get to the first 2 rounds, and whoever wins these 2, it's like, well, they're looking pretty strong. They're going to ride it out.
Yeah, and the question becomes is that actually a potential positive for Dovi specifically? Because if Marquez is going to be going all out, balls to the wall, does he put it in the gravel in a race or make a mistake and take someone out? Dovizioso not really known for that. Again, we saw the other win where he said he didn't try very hard, and then which is funny, and then we saw the win where he won because he made, he correctly predicted the poor conditions of the track, which I also did, and then worked the entire weekend for that. This was the same thing. Dovi chooses the soft tire and perfectly implements his game plan for the whole race, and he implements and executes a game plan without fail. And it's like we said last race with Marquez and his team's commitment to their plan in flag-to-flag races, but Dovizioso did the same thing. And what we saw with Marquez is he sort of abandons the game plan, decides, fuck, I'm just going to go for it.
And sometimes it works out for him. It's funny. Ducati has the game plan down with tires as long as it's dry. Right? Like they were running that same thing in Brno. Like he was testing everything. He was focusing on race pace, making sure what he'd planned was going to work. And then it was a flag to flag race, so his strategy went out the window. But here in Austria, which is kind of funny because I would have expected a little bit more moisture on Sunday, and yet somehow Ducati comes out with a perfectly dry track. Everything they had worked for worked or gave them the right information to choose the right tire. And it works out for them.
Rob was expecting it to be much more moist.
Yeah, moist. Ducati's even controlling the weather to win this championship, is what you're saying, right?
Except for in the Czech Republic.
Right. The thing that's crazy for me though is that a lot of people, myself included, thought Maverick obviously would run away with it. He looked like that early on. They make some problems with tires. Everett basically texts me 3 times a day, how about your boy Maverick? He likes to remind me of that every time chance he gets. But the one thing that's kind of crazy this season is that damn, I just lost my fucking train of thought completely. Motherfucker. Edit that out, Rob. That's some improv shit right there.
Somebody needs a glass of Merlot.
Right, yeah, exactly.
No, I'm gonna take it. I don't know if this is where you're going, but I'm grabbing it. So we do need to talk about Yamaha.
No, I got it. Hold on. Fuck you. I got it. My favorite thing about this is, like, everyone thought Ken Rossi win. He's the best. I love him. And Marc Marquez is so exciting. And, like, all these years, Dovi's been this quiet guy. I remember when Simoncelli was doing really well, and Dovi was like, why does everyone love him so much? I have way more podiums and do better than him, all this stuff. But, like, all of a sudden, this season, Dovizioso's become, like, this legitimate fan favorite for, like, every dude over the age of 30. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. I post, like...
Well, Dovi, again, it goes back to swagger. He's got a different swagger. Before, he was always in someone's shadow, and he was never the man.
Right.
And this year, he's the man, dude. He is the fucking number one. Even though Lorenzo's there, he is the man. He is number one. He is Ducati Dovi, dude. It's that simple.
Yeah, he's Desmo Dovi. And, like, literally, I post stuff like a joke about, are you team D's out for Dovi or team Marquez? fucking no one says Marquez, at least on our pages. Everyone is like fucking D's out, double D's out, my D's out for Dovi, straight up. It's insane. Like, this guy has become somehow this amazing fan favorite. And it's like Everett says, he has this swag, and he's just, it's weird. It's like a level of confidence that we haven't seen from him, and it sort of culminated in beating Marquez at his own game. It's fucking awesome.
Kev just called all our fans over 30, and he didn't even realize.
No, we got lots of fans younger than that. We talking about? We got they love Dovi too.
Where's the Indonesian army? Where's the Indonesian army? We need them back.
Yeah,
they're coming.
It's when he broke up with Rossi, they all left us. That's what
exactly.
it was. You know it.
I guess just my point being is it's not just like Everett said, the race was amazing for the series, and it was, and we see these two title contenders sort of starting to pull away, and after all this, it's coalescing into like the phenom versus the working man. Dovi has unexpectedly and against all odds become this amazing fan favorite among so many people, and it's just really amazing to see, as he's gone on in years, he's put in the hard work, and he's really basically, he's Ducati Moses.
The odds on him winning 3 races this year were probably pretty high. We should have taken that in the beginning of the season. That would have been nice.
We're idiots.
Yeah, and I mean,
Absolutely.
it's definitely building his fan base to see him putting these wins together, because that's the best exposure you're going to get, fucking pooning Marc Marquez out of the final corner.
Right.
But we've been talking about these two back and forth the entire time, and obviously they're the main title challengers at this point, the title contenders, and they've actually managed to pull away a little bit. Like, Marquez does have 2 more points in the gap at the moment right now, because he, Maverick was 14 points back, and now Dovi is 16, but they're a little bit farther ahead than Maverick and Rossi. So what the hell is up with Yamaha? I mean, they only made 1 mistake each in the race. They blew 1 corner and it dropped him back quite a few places, but they weren't able to pull it back. And yet
this is the wrong track to make any mistakes.
Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, if you get back, and it's so hard to close the gap. It's kind of like the gaps you see in Moto3 races. Once you're too far behind, it's really hard to close that gap. We saw that at many points, Valentino he put in fastest laps of the race at one point, but it's simply too hard to make up ground when you don't have someone to draft or follow. And, what are you going to do? I mean, it's kind of one of those examples where you make a mistake and you're done.
Yeah, I mean, and this the track lends itself to this because it's straightaways with corners in between. There's no complexity to this track that makes it possible for the more experienced, the pseudo aliens, to actually make up time on everyone else, and especially to make up time on each other, right? Like, it lends itself to good racing generally, except when Rossi blows one of the corners. All of the times in practice and in qualifying were really, really tight. And we thought that the race was going to be like that the whole time. And it was for the first 2 spots. But then for the rest of the top 6, it was just a tiny bit disappointing.
Yeah, this track is, like, there's no secret to this track, right? There's no flowing sections that, I mean, other than Marquez in turn 7, there's no, like, flowing sections that lend itself to having some special line, or like Stoner saying he knows a secret at Phillip. I don't remember. It's almost like the joke when my friend Clint used to say, like, what the fuck, bro? Just brake later and give it gas earlier. What's the problem, right? Like, that's how you go faster. But this is literally, that's what you do at this track. Brake a little later, stand it up, and get on the gas a little earlier. That's kind of how you do it. Like, there's no secret, there's no complexity, there's no like silver bullet to this track. It's just kind of straight simple. And so the silver bullet is don't blow a turn and go wide. Right.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, so that actually leads into our the other podium finisher, right? Danny Pedrosa didn't blow a single one. He didn't get the greatest start, but he managed to put in a consistent race and end up on the box.
Right. Well, I mean, part of that was, again, the two Yamahas each made their one mistake that dropped him back, and then Lorenzo did what Lorenzo does in the Ducati, which is run pretty good at the beginning and make everyone think this is going to be the one, and then just completely fall away and not really be in podium contention. So, he jumps out, he rides hard, but then he falters, and there's Danny to pick up the pieces because he's not really making mistakes. I mean, his mistake was where he qualified.
Yeah. The one thing that I do want to talk about, Danny, really important, is how he's affecting the championship at the moment, right? Because his podium, his second podium, is taking points off of Vinales and off of Rossi.
That's right.
Yeah, that's kind of like he plays spoiler constantly. He's not really in the threat for the championship. He's not really someone who's gonna to really fight for that title day. I mean, fuck, even less so than Dovizioso at this point. But he's always there to kind of just mess things up slightly. You know what I mean? Just he splits the points, and with the progressive point scale, it really throws a monkey wrench in someone like having a bad day. If you're Maverick or Valentino, you got a bad weekend. But if Pedrosa's getting third, suddenly it's a much worse weekend than it should have been.
Yeah, Pedrosa is what we call a bad actor in
Right.
many, many different respects. From Red Bull acting to just his placement throughout seasons and ruining seasons.
Wait, you don't like his James Bond?
Yeah. No, it's funny because I listened to this other podcast. And
Traitor.
it's pretty good, but they always use the word bad actor.
Rob,
and,
bleep
the
that
government
out in
and,
the
like,
episode.
bad people.
He listens to other podcasts. Bleep, 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 bleep.
And so it's like, and then I'm watching this thing. I'm like, he's just terrible acting, and it's like he really is kind of muddying up the championship based on his results. Yet he's in the running for it, but he's really not. It's a weird thing where it's like he's relevant but not relevant, and I still think he's a dark horse, but is he? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, he's 35 points back right now. If there were only maybe one person between him and his title position, it would be okay, right? And he might be a title challenger. But with both Yamahas in between him and Marquez and Dovizioso, there's no way, right? He's in fifth place. He will end
Marquez
up there.
Marquez is gonna crash out of one more race, first of all. So he will get a DNF and lose 25 points and get 0.
Yeah, and Danny still won't be leading the title.
Well, no, he won't lead, but he's not that far back. I mean, he's 2 behind Rossi.
But I think in terms of playing spoiler, this was a classic example of it. Is like when Maverick has his off day or Valentino has his off day. I mean, last year the Hondas were horrible and the Yamahas were the one keeping the Ducati at least honest. This year it was the other way around, despite the Yamahas having some sweet, new aero packages. And then what does Danny do? He slots himself right in the middle of a Ducati and then the rest of the Yamahas, and he helps to sort of establish that this season is Dovi versus Marquez for the remainder of the season.
Kevin, that is a great point.
Oh, thank you,
Yamaha
Everett.
was there and swapped with Honda, and Honda was then relevant. And we really haven't talked about what Yamaha did all weekend. I mean, they were kind of out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not good.
we should definitely talk about their fairings a little bit because they put in all that work in the Brno test. They released the new fairings. All the riders, even Dovi, right? And Dovi, Rossi, Vinales, they all told us after the Brno test that they were not going to run the new fairings, the new winglets, because they thought that it might hurt top speed too much. And what the fuck happens at the race the second they make it into FP2? Yeah, they all did it. It's like they've got like a crew of like 20 engineers building this shit that know what the fuck they're talking about. Oh, nothing. I don't get anything on that. Come on, guys. No.
But I totally agree with you. You're right.
I thought it was great. I was laughing.
I mean, let's be real here. No one's ever accused motorcycle racers of being the smartest guys in the room. I mean, I'm just saying, right? Like, John Hopkins was famous for the line, "The more you know, the slower you go." Right?
True.
And he probably said that while drunk the night before races many, many times, because that actually happens. But, them saying, part of it is we're not going to run it because they don't want to play your hand. Part of it is there's a weird conservatism of no one wants to do something different than the other guys because we don't want to we just want to be on equal grounds to win. But let's be real. They're all going to run it. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like, the engineers aren't dumb. They know. These things are going to make the bike faster.
Yeah, they're probably. I don't know if they'll run it at Silverstone. They'll probably run it at Aragon. They'll definitely run it at Motegi. They'll probably run it in Malaysia, and I don't know about the rest of the tracks. But someone is going to do something.
I will pay $1,000 hobo dollars if somebody puts that quote on the back of Bradley Smith's helmet.
What, the John Hopkins quote?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
If you guys
They always talk about how much he knows. It's like, no wonder he's
go.
fucking almost last.
Yeah, if you didn't get it, Bradley Smith is touted as one of the most intelligent and easy to speak to racers in the entire paddock. And that's why they always go and talk to him when the tire choice is interesting. Because he's going to give it up. He's going to give up all the information.
He articulates it all, and it's like, then he gets third to last. Good job, guys.
We'll get to KTM. We'll get to KTM later.
Yeah. Because let's get real. I'm gonna blow up KTM and Bradley Smith. It's gonna be ugly. It's gonna be as ugly as Bradley Smith. So,
well, before we get there, can we blow up Jorge?
Yeah,
yes.
let's talk about it.
It's a good segue because he was the one who kind of debuted the crazy new fairing and sort of like brought it out into the mainstream. And take it away, Everett. Go ahead. It's all you.
He looked really strong, and he's doing this thing all year long where he gets some new enhancement like the fairings or just something, and then he starts the race, and he, historically has never been like a great starter. He's been an okay one, but he's been starting these races, and he pulls away with like a fair gap, and you just know this year. I mean, 3 out of 3, I'll bet. We all thought, okay, he's at the front, and he's going to fade back. Like, this is Ducati of 3 to 4 years ago normal, and he's doing it, and it's just really disappointing to see somebody of his caliber or alleged caliber doing that.
Well, what was interesting is last year, every race he won, he led from the first turn and never got past. So this is like a complete difference. The way he won a race was being the first guy to the first turn, and then he just metronome pounds out his laps. But you can't do that on the Ducati. It's not smooth enough, and we know from multiple riders, engineers, and the head of race departments that will talk about it, whether it was Nakamoto or Gigi or many riders, is that the wings and the winglets or whatever we want to call them now. Oh wait, we're calling them nards, and I'll get to that in a minute. Nardlets. Is they are physically demanding. And while Jorge may be one of the most athletic and in-shape guys in the paddock, a style that requires perfection inch by inch, lap per lap, the entire race, doesn't lend itself to a physically demanding bike. And it's like Everett has said multiple times, at some point as a rider, you have to know what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, and perhaps not just take the money, but choose the bike that gives you the best chance to display your strengths and minimize your weaknesses.
Yeah, that was the deep thought that I was having prior to us recording was, I think these riders are getting pretty smart that they've got to take a very calculated risk on their style and the bike's ability to match it. And you see Pedrosa, he's been on the same bike forever. I think he's probably pretty smart that if he ever leaves, he's going to fail miserably on anything else. He's just got that thing dialed. He's now built his career around it, and he can't switch. Jorge did that, and now we're seeing what happens when you do that.
I mean, but you're taking Jorge, the guy that is known for having the most out-of-whack style in the GP paddock, right? Everyone touted him as an early breaker, an insane corner speed, and lean angle kind of rider. And then he moves to a bike.
Yeah.
Well, but even worse than that, right? Like, everyone might have done that in 250s. They might be doing it in Moto3 now. But the second they get on a more powerful bike, they transition to something else, and they make it work, or they don't make it work. Like, Jorge didn't transition, made it work, and has this crazy extreme style. Like, this GP, even though he got fourth, this is the closest he's been to the leader in any race on the Ducati. Like, to me, just watching him, like watching the onboard from Danny, him following Jorge, he looks like not Jorge. And I think he actually can transition. Like, even the helicopter shots, he was braking later than Danny Pedrosa, which is not what we've heard from all of the other GP riders for the entirety of his career, right? Everyone said he'd brake early. to me, this screams that Jorge Lorenzo is finally transitioning, and he's going to continue to be able to do that. He's going to get closer. Like, even when he got the podium at the at Jerez, he was 14 seconds behind. At this round, I think it was only 9. No,
yeah,
six and a half.
Yeah. I have to disagree with you literally 180 degrees. This is the like last year we knew Iannone would win so hard, a guy who would never won, that we made an entire Game of Thrones themed podcast about it. Right? Like I had this whole planned diatribe, fucking Drogon and Viserys were like roaring in the background, and fucking Daenerys Targaryen. We were so confident he was gonna win that we like made an edited podcast about it. This track is so fucking perfect for Ducatis. If you're ever gonna fucking do well, this was the track, so that you were close to the leaders, that you were almost on the podium is not a fucking good sign. That means at the best track that's absolutely most suited for the bike, the best chance you're ever going to have to win a race all season, that where all of the strengths of the bike are maximized and its weaknesses are minimized, and you are talking about you weren't that far from the leaders. You were off the podium. That it's the exact opposite, Rob. If he was ever going to make it happen, if he was making it happen, this is where all the problems would hide themselves. And he still can't do it. He still fades, like Everett said, and we all knew it would happen. He still looks...
We knew he was going to fade. Like that.
No,
that was for
that's
sure
what I'm
going
saying.
to
Yeah,
happen.
but why? Why?
Right.
You shouldn't have.
You shouldn't have, because this goes exactly to what Everett said about you have to choose a bike that works for your favors. This is a track that literally flatters all the positives of the Ducati and hides the... This is basically beer goggles for the track. I mean, that chick who's a little chunky. This is candlelight for chicks.
This is Ducati land. This is their fucking backyard. It's designed for their technique of the bike style. No matter how good or bad you are as a rider, all these guys are world class. Jorge is supposed to be the best of the best, one of the best, right? And yet he just got showed up by 3 other guys. Frankly, the more I think about it as I'm listening to you, Kev, I'm thinking Jorge's lost the passion. He did not push that bike.
This guy's excited. This guy celebrated a third like he won a title, right? He won like 5 races last year. This is a guy who's posting that we're pretty happy with 4th. You're happy with 4th? You're a 3-time champion, and at one point you've beaten Casey Stoner for a title, you've beaten Marc Marquez for a title, and you've beaten Valentino fucking Rossi for a title. No one can say that. And now you're telling me you're fucking happy with 4th? Shut the fuck up, dude.
The one thing that I still need him to transition, and it's the one thing that I think you're missing out of this whole thing. He only finished 6 seconds off at Dovizioso, but he ran a completely different race. Like Eyebrows, Gigi Dall'Igna has come out and says that he chose the wrong strategy. They were on the same tires, but he chose to go out hard in the beginning, burn up his soft rear tire.
That's bullshit,
and
man.
then finish 6 seconds later.
Bullshit.
No, but so you transition Jorge's racecraft.
What's the bet? Jorge won't win a race all year.
Oh, no, we already had a previous bet. And I don't remember what it was.
Rob, you can't say that he, like, all of the talk on Twitter, all of the journalists, all of the guys talking about how this was his turning point, but I think it's the exact opposite. If he did 4th or worse, if he did 5th or worse in this race, that's a fucking disaster. Last year, Iannone and Dovizioso ran away with this race so hard it was ridiculous.
Why did Iannone run away with the race last year? What did he do in the race?
Because he chose a correct game plan and then executed it.
Because he had big balls.
No, exactly what Kev said. He slowed the race down. He made sure to save that rear tire, and he just destroyed them in the end. Right? Jorge did Dovi, exactly the opposite, right? Dovi did that this year. No, but that's a racecraft. That's something you can learn.
Kevin's gonna blow a head gasket.
I'm gonna fucking blow a gasket, bro. That's even worse because guess what, Rob? You know who designed that fucking racecraft? Ducati. His team.
Yeah.
His team knew exactly how to win.
Dropping knowledge.
His team knew exactly how to win with how the bike would exactly work. Here is exactly what you do, George. Show up, do this, and you're gonna win. You're fucking cementing my point, dude. Is that
no,
not
because...
only do they have... Hold on. Shut the fuck up. K-Dog is talking here.
Oh, shit.
What I'm saying is that not only did he have the bike, but he had the team with the exact race-winning formula. If you were ever gonna win a race this year, this was the one that you would look as good as possible, and he still couldn't do it. We know exactly how to win because Ducati's done it twice in a row with the same fucking formula. It's not a big secret.
Yeah.
I honestly think that this isn't an HRC Danny Pedrosa getting out of the way scenario. I don't think that Ducati had that meeting with Jorge because he's the fucking B rider this year. They told Dovi, they made sure Dovi was on point with that strategy, and they wanted him to win the race. Jorge,
now you're even
like,
making my point even more. He can't fucking turn the corner and start winning races if they know he's the B rider. What the fuck?
He's got another year. They have
all he had to do is block him.
He has way more. He did block. He held up Marquez for at least a couple of laps.
He was trying to go for it and screwed that up, man.
Yeah,
he
no, he was.
You got to get
He was
second to
trying
block
go
him.
I'm
Look,
looking at the time. I'm looking at the time gaps between them, and they're still coming down. If they level off, right, or if he just plummets down and ends up 20 seconds off of Dovi for the rest of the season, yeah, he's fucking gone.
But dude, the last time he got a podium and everyone like he was gonna turn the corner, he got like 2/15ths, a 10th, and an 11th. So if we're going by fucking, you know what I mean? He's gonna be fighting with Bradley Smith and some random ass test rider for 1 point next race.
I don't think I've ever seen you two. I don't think I've ever seen you two so at odds. This is so awesome to just watch the spectacle because this is unprecedented.
This is not at odds. It's just that Rob is wrong.
It's way better than the episodes where we just agree the whole time.
The love fest.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to other people.
We'll move on. There's plenty of season left for him to prove himself.
Yeah. Let's move on to the other factories that chuffed it this round, right? Factory
chuffed it. Did they chuff it?
Chuffed it?
Sorry, it's a SoCal climbing word meaning screwing it up. Never mind. The British think it means the exact opposite.
SoCal climbing word, Rob. You need to work on your fucking word beta.
Damn.
He said the word beta.
Contentious up in this bitch.
Exactly.
Maybe it'll be great because the British think the opposite. They think being chuffed is a good thing. Ask Redding. He's chuffed about that new contract.
The British also think that like the fucking Red Bull Ring is too unsafe and they shouldn't ride there and they need a riders union and we can't ride in the rain and all this stuff and this and that. Except they also love that Marquez dive bombed a guy with a turret pass that was never going to happen in a place that had no business winning, and they like literally in one day they're constantly posting about forming a riders union overnight, and the next day they're all retweeting that picture of Marquez completely out of shape dive bombing Dovi in the final turn. Like, hypocrisy much? Help me out here.
It's so true, man.
They lost their credibility when they thought that Lowe's was a quality MotoGP rider. So I'm done with
Correct.
that. It's okay.
And with winglets. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, careful what you wish for, motherfuckers. You see those things?
Yeah.
I'm cool with the ducks.
Not the ducks, the fucking nards. The
nardlets.
No,
because,
I'm not going with... I know what a canard actually is.
Because as multiple fans pointed out, the front wing on an airplane is called the canard, and these are slightly smaller versions of those front wings, so they are the nards. So Dovi had his nards out all race weekend. Those nards were at the front. Marquez tried to pass around those nards, and Dovi said, nope, I'm taking my nards to the finish line. So, hashtag nards.
Do you think Petrucci's larger nard slowed him down a little bit this round?
Petrucci had slightly larger, more complex nards, and so I think
detachable nards.
Then they were detachable nardness. That's a sweet 90s song. But yeah, no, Petrucci had like more Petrucci had dirtier nards, no doubt. They were way more, like there was more stuff hanging off of his nards, definitely for sure.
Oh man, whatever. Let's move on to what we were originally going to talk about. So I'm going to give you guys all the time in the world to talk shit about KTM and how Pol Bradley got beat by Mika Kallio.
And we're done. Moving on.
So
it's not even worth it.
Right. So hold on, because I could say a million things, and I'm gonna. But Stoner drops the Mika Kallio gets 10th. Where the fuck are the other guys at? They gotta step up. Like, Stoner didn't just throw shade to fucking steal some Instagram posters' comments. He buried them. I mean, no one calls them out worse than Stoner's like, yo, bro, y'all just got fucking showed up by the test rider. And then KTM on their Instagram posts our best rider is our test rider.
Yeah.
Like,
did he get promoted? Like, how does that work? Has that ever happened, Rob? You're like, you and Kev are the encyclopedias. So has a test rider ever outperformed? Like, Piro hasn't ever beat the factory guys, right? Like, both of them.
He's qualified well, but I wouldn't say in the modern era he
practice.
has. And Kev would know about the historically older era. I don't know.
I do love Piro.
But yeah.
I mean, Nakasuga got third in a rain race back in like 2011, I think it might have been, ahead of the Factory Yamaha riders. So yeah, fuck you. I'll drop knowledge on your face all day. Just like basically Mika Kallio dropped his nuts all over the other fucking KTM riders' faces. Like, this is the problem. If they were ever going to be more exposed than they ever could have been, was the fucking... Pol was the first rider for Tech 3 in who knows how many years, basically back to the Dunlop era, not to get a podium, right? Dunlop, when fucking Tech 3 was a Dunlop team. But they were so exposed with Folger and Zarco this year on just how much of scrubs those dude actually are. And then Mika Kallio shows up. Like, not some guy known for being this amazing rider. And he just drops his nuts all over those guys during the race. I mean, Kallio legit top 10. That was not like a weird race because people crashed out. Nakasuga's third was when it was a weird rain race at Valencia. That makes sense, okay. Crazy conditions. This was perfect dry conditions at like a track that they all have ridden at, and he just beat their ass. Like, those guys I had
to fact check that. Nakasuga got 6th, by the way.
There's a time. No, there was a time. Who got? No, there's a time when he got third. It literally one of the Yamaha test riders podiumed. But it doesn't matter. My point being that he completely fucking showed up these guys, like, to a degree that's ridiculous. He made them look silly, and on top of Zarco and Folger's, performances this year, it's like, those guys are fucking scrubs. Get them off there and get real riders on that bike, because that bike is not nearly as bad. Because if Kallio's getting top 10s, we know what someone really good can do.
I mean, I have to bring this up because Kev will get a lot of flack on Twitter for it or whatever. Pol did have his rear brake knocked off by Petrucci, just completely blowing the start and someone running into him. And the one thing, actually, to me, that just screams that Pol is a scrub even more, because who the fuck comes in when your bike has a problem like the missing rear brake? Like, just stay out there and try and fight for 15th place and get 1 point, because you're a factory rider that's getting paid a shit ton of race motorcycles. Just finish the damn race. Like, it's not the front brake.
Super true.
Yeah, we all know that he could ride. Like, the announcers instantly said that these bikes are impossible to ride without the rear brake. Like, no, these bikes. Yeah, these bikes have been ridden to the end of races with the fucking traction control not working, with some crazy other things going on. When it's the race, you finish.
And I don't know the other riders, but I'm pretty sure Carroll, like, his first couple years in GP, he didn't use the rear brake.
Yeah,
they had to learn how to do that.
It's entirely possible to ride these bikes without the rear brake. I will admit, it's hard and it's slower, but still, fucking Pol Espargaro, finish the goddamn race. Don't get destroyed by your test.
It was 2012. Nakasuga got second, asshole. Trying to fact check me. Choke on some freshly painted nards. Choke on some freshly painted nards.
Damn.
I knew.
What's that called? Like that's a callback. What is that?
Yeah.
That was damn, dude.
Matter.
He got second. You're right.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that drove me nuts about Pol getting his okay, you can get your rear brake knocked off. You want to pull it, okay. But Casey Stoner drops, he fucking half buries you, dog. And that he actually responded with that on Twitter. I had to pull in because, how about telling Casey Stoner to eat a dick, Mr. Retired, because I'm, too afraid to crash anymore? Have some fucking pride, Pol. Have some fucking pride. You're still out there racing, except you're not because you fucking pulled in. If Casey Stoner, who literally is another test rider, can just drop shade on you, it's time to retire. It's time to step off. Go ride World Superbike or fucking something, Pol.
Dude, that is pretty badass of Stoner. He's like, fuck you losers. What are you doing? And he no fucks were given because he's like, I don't give a fuck about KTM. You guys are idiots.
Well, he knows
right,
how
Stoner doesn't have a relationship with KTM in the long run. He rode for them back in 250cc days, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
By the way, he rode a parallel twin 250cc. Yeah, that's knowledge. But
he just went straight fan.
Right, he just said, he went BrotoGP on him.
Shout out.
Oh man! All right, the last thing I want to say about Mickey Callio is that he has 3 times as many points as Sam Lowe's.
Sam, oh god!
Salt on the wound.
Burn. Right.
All right,
Dude,
moving on to Factory Yamaha getting beat by Tech 3 once again. Again.
That's just pathetic. How is Zarco gonna beat you? It just was bad. I don't even know how to articulate this.
I actually think that episode that Knox sat in for Everett when he was right with his peak frame idea because I literally think Yamaha has achieved peak frame, and the 2017 frame was designed to be easier to ride, but it has it's easier to ride at the beginning, but now it's wearing the rear tire out. And they're having problems with rear tires, although I don't know how much problems they're actually having because, literally 9 fans on our Instagram said, yeah, Rossi would probably just say he had a bad rear tire on Sunday morning after he would suck. They called that he would suck and then blame it on his tire. But I almost wonder if the reason is that the best frame they had was the 2016 frame, and everything they do seems to steal, whatever addition they get, they have a subtraction somewhere else, and now the bike is out of balance.
Yeah, they've been working on rear grip and kind of been ruining it, and they've been sacrificing that front end feel and that stability. But on the flip side of that, so apparently Folger just tried to race the chassis that Zarco has been using, and it was the chassis that Rossi and Jorge finished with at Valencia. And he rode with that on Friday and then discarded it and switched back to his previous one on Saturday. So that's testing in a race weekend. It's generally a bad idea, but it didn't work for him, right? He went back to something even older. So it's like Yamaha might actually be losing their development process even a little bit before that. And
they're so good they can't make it better.
Yeah,
it's peak frame.
Either that or they're not good enough to make it better.
Yeah, I just wonder if it's time to... you just wonder... Ducati spent so much time focusing on aero. They spent so much... everyone said when they switched to the twin spar, they'll never catch Ducati or Yamaha. They'll never catch Honda. They're 20 years ahead, and that Ducati can never catch them. And then Ducati invests sort of oddly... massive money, massive investment and time into the aero packages. They ban the wings and they come out with even these crazier aero packages, and hey, it seems to be working. They just won with it. You wonder if Yamaha needs to start finding that the answer isn't in the chassis, but the answer is in aero helping to mitigate your chassis problems. I mean, that's basically what Ducati did, which was we can't catch Honda or Yamaha in twin spar, flex chassis frames, but we can use aero to solve the problems in that frame because they're behind on the aero.
And that's exactly it. It's the word I would use is creativity.
Well, and they're taking more risk, right? They were the first to do all the aero. They were, even this year, they were the first to run the carbon fiber forks, the Öhlins forks, and then Marquez gets them at the Brno round, and then Yamaha tests them in the Brno test. And I'm pretty sure I think one of the Yamahas was racing on them this weekend, and Marquez has completely switched over, right? But Ducati is starting all of these development in the whole entire paddock because they're willing to take the risk. And Kev, you said this a little bit earlier. Because they have to take the risk.
Yeah,
but it's cool because compared to a couple years ago, they were taking huge risk and they weren't working out, right? The half and half aluminum carbon fiber chassis that they tried out when Rossi was there, and then jumping straight into the full aluminum twin spar frame. Those were humongous risks in the middle of the season that they felt like they had to take because they were so far behind. Now they're taking much smaller ones, and they're taking their time to get the development right, and it's working out well for them. Whereas I don't think the other factories are used to taking these sort of risks because, and by other factories I mean Yamaha and Honda, because they've been at the top for so long. They're not taking the risks, and they're falling behind just a little bit when the variability of everything else just comes into play.
That's the brilliance of prototype racing, though. I mean, they're reaping the benefits. They've been laggards for a couple years, but now they're looking good, and they haven't got there yet, right? But this is the year where we're starting to see them kind of maybe hit the top of the bell curve, and hopefully they're just right before it, and we're going to see some really good racing out of Ducati over the next few years.
Yeah, they're all. I mean, even Honda, right? Honda is still struggling with drive. They got it right this race because they committed the entirety of the Brno test to working on the electronics to improve their drive out of corners. Yamaha wanted to fix some wheelie and kind of help out front end stability, so they made the winglets. They made the new aerodynamic fairings, right? Everyone is having to try really hard to fix nagging issues that they've had for a long time because we've approached peak frame, right?
Yeah.
It's not easy anymore. It's not easy to fix these things anymore because the bikes are so freaking fast. And it's going to continue to get harder. And at some point it's already leveling off, right? The electronics have leveled things off. The tires have leveled things off. This race was 3 seconds slower than last year. The pole time was I think only 2/10 or 3/10 faster than last year, right? The bikes aren't getting that much faster because it's so difficult for them to do it.
And don't discount the fact that the riders still make a lot of the difference, right? You put the best, most hungriest, that's great grammar right there.
Most hungriest.
the hungriest riders on the best bikes are still going to shine, right? So you take Marquez, you put him on any bike, he's still going to be a front runner. And and you see that with Honda, but what's telling is that Pedrosa is right there with them. So you know that Honda's doing what it's got to do. The fact that nobody else from Honda is even close is a problem, but the two factories are there. Then you look at Yamaha.
Well, and
they're all kind of together.
What's particularly interesting is that as of right now, the manufacturer standings are dead even.
Oh, yeah.
Yamaha, Honda have exact number of points and exact number of wins. And
Ducati's only like 10 or 15 back, right?
Right, and it's just because Jorge ain't showing up. I mean, that's the real problem with them, is that Jorge's not showing up. But you wonder, Yamaha came out of the box early, but the development has leveled off massively while excuse me, I'm fucking hiccuping like a motherfucker. Marquez seems to be, I've had like 3/4 of this bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon, and I'm ready to go. I mean, Marquez has, taken the slight advancements that Honda's given them and ran with it. Yeah, Pedrosa's there, but not as close as he traditionally has been. He gets a podium here or there. He's got his one win, but he's not like right there. It's like you said, the other Hondas suck balls. I mean, Jack Miller is crashing out of not in the points. Cal Crutchlow is fighting for 18th. He is not exactly doing well.
I got such a good one after that. Sorry, he's crashing into Redding's ex-girlfriend's pussy.
Whoa, what, dog?
It It was too easy.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
I'm going to go ahead and hard segue that comment about Redding's ex-girlfriend's pussy into the Hall of Shame segment of Redding switching to Aprilia. But yeah, hard segment or hard segue.
You had to say hard that many times.
Sorry.
Yeah. So Jack Miller is now confirmed at Pramac alongside Petrucci. Scott Redding just got confirmed on Monday, which it is today, at Aprilia. And Sam Lowe's told us on Twitter a few days ago that he was straight up fired and he got pissed off at Aprilia. So yeah, we have the satellite silly season, and it's actually pretty fucking entertaining because they're all plowing each other's ex-girlfriends.
Yeah, I don't know what that's all about.
Ironically, Redding, like, you'd think got the short stick, but he kind of made out like a bandit getting a factory ride. Like, what the fuck?
Seriously.
It's like, factory, what up, dog?
Yeah, I mean, that move is a complete stopgap. Like, basically what happened is, for whatever reason, they lost complete confidence in Sam Lowe's. I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe he went
Shocker.
Maybe he went full Fanati and, like, threatened someone's mom or punched Ucho. I don't know.
No, he just sucks. He just never deserved the ride to begin with.
He kind of sucks, and the team and him are so oil and water, there's no point. So, Redding, we kind of know what to expect from him. Stick him on the bike. Tell him to ride. You know, he's riding for a ride, so to speak. You know, keep the ride, and he's a stopgap while they figure out what they're going to do. The Grassini team has some quality talent, sort of in the junior intermediate classes, deciding to see where they're at. Redding's going to hold the fort till they decide what they're going to do. 4 races in, they were like, we're looking for someone else. We're not really big on Sam Lowe's.
Shocker. I mean, dude, look at Sam Lowe's resume. He was never really a quote-unquote finisher even then. Like, what'd you think he was going to do?
Well, there are apparently 2 really big things against him. One, his braking style is ridiculous. Like, he does all the downshifts first, then he starts braking. I think I read that right. It flabbergasted me so much that a rider could ride...
Very atypical.
Yeah, far off and be in MotoGP. And then the other thing is...
No.
He crashes so much that it's actually hindering development of the motorcycle because they have to make so many freaking spare parts.
Yeah,
like,
they can't finish a race and see how stuff reacts. You can't send the guy back out if something goes wrong and finish it. I mean, I feel like Sam Lowe's is a classic example of the Brit media being too... like, supportive of their riders. I mean, the point where the lack of critical analysis is actually holding them back. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I like that critical analysis.
Right, they're pumped.
It's true.
It's true. And if you ever want to go anywhere in the world to get critical analysis, it's BrotoGP, where we're talking about, you know, dudes slamming ex-girlfriends and peak frame. There's no doubt. But I mean,
but he crashed so much on that Moto2 bike last year. Yet, I think I said it last year. It's like, why would you sign this guy? I don't care. Like, he just never culminated to anything. Yet you're signing him to a factory. It's like he had a good agent. He got the ride. Dude, we gave you a shot. Like, let's play the game. Your factory Aprilia. What do you do? I would fire him. I would have fired him 4 races ago.
Doesn't he have the same agent as Scott Redding, or is it Miller that has the same agent as
so.
Scott Redding? Well, they share.
Yeah.
They share.
The whole fucking like paddock is so incestuous. It's ridiculous. I mean,
what about nepotism? What about the nepotism?
You had to drop the word in there. We're not even going to talk about Moto2 this episode. Oh man.
I'm just saying, he never deserved it.
Yeah, and I think that he was given the ride as a sort of proof of concept. Grassini runs a Moto3 team, a Moto2 team, and a MotoGP team. And the way you get good talent to your Moto3 team to start is to see there's a clear pathway to MotoGP with our team, right? Like, you get to our team, you do well, and you'll make the progression. We're going to bring riders up. We're going to have our in-house development, something that you see with some of their teams that's really good, but it just failed spectacularly. And the problem is, like, every fucking fan on Twitter and on Reddit and all this stuff, like they think they know these guys. Like, they're like so close to the sport, they like think they know them and they're friends, and like, you deserve a ride. No, bro, this is motorcycle racing. Like, how much you deserve a ride is what you did last week. If you sucked balls last week, that's as far as I can remember. You know what I mean? Like, stop acting like you know these guys. Because you follow their Instagrams and you see their stories and you see them hanging with their dogs, or you see Scott Redding getting someone's sloppy seconds, that doesn't mean you fucking know these guys. You stop acting like you're friends.
Straight up, if Carl got last place every ride, I'd be like, dude, it's time to move on. I'd be pretty honest with him. Yeah. So it's that simple. I mean, seriously, put yourself in Aprilia's shoes. Your guy is just crashing all the time. He can't even finish the races where he gets a good start and is in the rain and like he's doing a good job. He still fucks it up. It's like, dude, my patience level would be just gone.
Right, and I want to cover the adage that, like, because what you're saying is exactly true, right? The fucking dude crashes too much. But what is some asshole who's watched GP for like 3 years and just parrots what fucking Matt Oxley says? He's going to respond instantly with, well, you can teach a crasher not to crash, but you can't teach a slow rider to go fast.
Somebody to be fast.
Right?
Yeah,
except Dovi won 3 races this year, asshole.
He was slowed 8 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Slow, quote unquote slow, but you know.
Right, 8 years ago, he was the guy that was never going to take the next step and can't be fast, and that's why you fucking want a Simoncelli or you want a whatever, because you can teach a fast crasher not to crash, but you can't teach a medium rider to go faster. No, but what you can do is invest multiple years and wings and build the bike around him, and suddenly Andrea Dovizioso is fighting for the title.
Dude, even Dovizioso has even better lawyers than Lowe's, because when they wanted to kick him out of HRC, he fucking lawyered up.
Dude, he sued Repsol Honda and won, dog.
Yeah.
He did. That was so dope.
Oh, Meanwhile, Sam Lowe's can't beat Aprilia. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, the reality is that Lowe's just ain't that good. And he really, like, exactly. They signed him to MotoGP, and we said this all last year. After Rins got signed, he bailed. After Sam Lowe's got signed, he sucked. The only rider who, after he got signed, put his nose to the grindstone and kept riding hard for the title was Zarco. Rins and Lowe's both kind of showed their true colors, and as soon as Lowe's got signed, he sucked ass. I mean, fucking take your trip back to BSB International, AK World Superbike. This is the show, dog. You know what I mean? Like, Mika Kallio and Michele Pirro have exponentially more points than you. If you double the points you have and then double it again, you still have less points than Mika Kallio.
I don't think that even dawned on me. That's so bad.
Kevin's not good at math, but it doesn't matter.
Shut the fuck up. The more you know, the slower you go. And I ain't trying to go slow.
For the listeners, good races make good episodes. That's all I'm saying.
Wait a minute. Sam Lowe's has 2 points, right?
Yeah.
How many does Kallio have?
6.
Ah, okay. Well, whatever. Fuck it.
No, he doesn't have 8. No, Rins has 8 points. But
there you go.
I'm
How
sorry.
many does
Rins
Pirro have? Pirro, what does
Bradley
Pirro
has 8.
got? What does
Pirro's
Pirro
got
have?
7. He's got 7.
Ah, dang it. I was so close.
But yeah, I mean, Sam Lowe's got dead fucking last in that last race too. It's actually his lowest finish this whole year. So that worked out.
And the best part was he gets fired, and excuse me, his response is like, "I'm gonna go out there and prove that they should. I'm gonna prove them wrong." Last place.
Yeah.
Like,
last place.
At least beat Tito Rabat. I mean, I don't even know. I wasn't paying attention who got last.
No, he did not beat Tito. He didn't beat Bradley. He didn't beat Rins. He didn't beat Barbara. No, he was the last person to finish. Everyone else crashed.
Oh, he did get... Oh, that's because he didn't want to crash. That's why.
Yeah.
I mean, Max Biaggi's quote of "This ain't ballroom dancing, it's motorcycle racing." Look, man, like, I'm sure Sam Lowe's is
you got the best quotes, Kev.
I'm sure
respect your quote.
I fucking remember that. I'm sure Sam Lowe's is a super nice guy. I'm sure he's fucking awesome, and he's really fast on a motorcycle compared to 99% of all motorcycle racers. He's just not MotoGP talent. And Aleix Espargaro, the guy who's got, like, 2 podiums in his whole career, is just proof that he's doing pretty damn good in the Aprilia, and they just need someone else. And for now, that someone else is Scott Redding. And that's exactly what that Chiara girl said after she broke up with Maverick. I need someone else, and for now, that someone else is Scott Redding.
Throwing down the D, Bill.
Need a little monkey fresh in her life.
She gotta get fresh, right? I mean, the reality is they hired Scott Redding because Scott Redding's gonna on the sly make all the Aprilia clothing gear, so it's like a 2-for-1 deal. You get a wholesale cost for all of your fucking clothing because it's monkey fresh all day.
Oh man,
so bad.
There'll be one tiny little monkey fresh logo on his bike and his helmet, and then they'll be good. They'll be good.
Okay.
I mean, should we talk about Miller real fast, or should we just end this episode?
No, I'm good. I want to talk about Miller because, like, I said Miller was way overrated on Reddit, and I got downvoted into oblivion, right? Which
He's way overrated. You were right, Kev. Don't worry.
Right.
I'll support you.
But all the people, like, Miller's cool. He drank his champagne out of a boot. He's a great character, and so I'm glad he's still in GP. But at some point, we need to stop acting like anyone, like, it's so many writers, and Everett, you can go back, Rob, you can go back and look. There's so many writers that everyone thinks like the magic bullet is when they move to Ducati. First of all, the second writer at Pramac has not traditionally done too well. Ask like Ruben Joust and fucking Randy Punier and all those guys. Like, you don't do well as the second writer at Pramac, Ben Spies. But so many times over the years, we've heard, like, oh, he's going to do good. The Ducati's going to really flatter his style. No, it's not. No, it's not. Like, you're going to... no, ask not. Lorenzo, ask Valentino, ask literally anyone not named Casey Stoner. When you go to Ducati, you suck your first year. That's just what happens. You suck. It's going to suck balls. It's going to suck big, fat, winglet nards. Like, it's not going to be good. No, he's not going to do well, and he's not going to do better than his Honda ride for Mark VDS. You just suck when you do it, right? Literally, shut your mouth, Step. Yeah, exactly. But you're not going to do well. So if you think that Miller, this is going to be the magic bullet for him to do better, he's not. Because no one goes to Ducati and does better, let alone the second seat at Pramac.
Well, let's be real. Petrucci's showing us that your best chance on a satellite bike currently is Honda in the rain or a Ducati, generally speaking. And at least we're going to see if Miller's got a shot at, like, really demonstrating some skill sets. He could pull, like, Bautista's doing great this year on Aspar, but it's still hit or miss, right? It's not consistent. So
well, you're forgetting about the
same thing.
You're forgetting about the Tech 3 boys being ahead of all the other satellite riders.
Right, but Petrucci's the only satellite rider with multiple podiums.
They're not exciting.
Right, no one gives a... Yeah. I think the point is not... I mean, look, Petrucci rides a factory GP17. I mean, he even has the nards to show for it. But...
Nardlets.
Right, Miller is going to ride a 2-year-old bike, and he's going to be... Or a year-old bike, and he's going to be the second seat at Pramac. The second seat at Pramac never does good. Whether you're fucking Ben Spies or Ruben Joust, literally. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to... Joust! Right? You're not going to do well. And unless your name is Casey Stoner, you're not going to do well your first year on the Ducati. If Nicky Hayden, 2006 world champion, if Valentino Rossi, 7-time world champion, and if Jorge Lorenzo, 3-time world champion plus a litany of junior class championships, don't do well their first season, Jack Miller, the guy whose claim to fame is he lost to Alex Marquez, is not going to do well. Right, like, I hate to talk about nepotism, but, like, he ain't Italian. They don't give a fuck. He's just there to get sponsors and get paid. Like, Pramac just took him because he got a Ducati deal, but he had an HRC deal too. Let's not talk about how these like factory deals but on a satellite ride mean anything. Miller is going to have all the second parts, and they're focusing on Petrucci. Pramac loves Danilo. They don't give a fuck about Jack Miller. They don't. You know what I mean? Like, that's just what it's going to be, whether you want to admit it or not.
It'll be interesting to see, though, because I can't remember a time when the satellite Ducati team has had 2 contracted Ducati riders. So you know that every single bit of like what parts he's going to get, what bike he has, like whether or not the bike's going to have winglets, it's already written in the freaking contract. So Jack is going to get more next year than Redding is getting right now. We know that Redding doesn't have winglets. He doesn't have anything resembling what they had last year. He doesn't have anything resembling the new stuff. He might have done better at this last round with them. Who knows?
My point being is don't get your hopes up, because literally no one in the history of Pramac has gone to the second seat and had like a dope season.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, it's not
No
going to
one.
happen.
It
All right,
hasn't happened.
We're getting our fans depressed about talking shit about Miller and how he's not going to do anything. So let's just close this one out. What do you say?
What? No, I want to keep talking shit.
Nope.
It's already been an hour.
Shit talking Kev is alive right now, man. You gotta let him go. He's gotta let him run.
Got him fired up with a really rooted disagreement there, and he just wants to go.
Right, yeah. I mean, as soon as I found...
That was a polite way.
I've never really disagreed with Rob on a fundamental level before, but I think it's like fucking chasing the dragon now. I'm trying to get Rob to disagree with me so I can fucking... It's like heron, it's like black tar heron straight in the veins. Who knew that disagreeing with Rob and agreeing with Everett would be the new thing?
Holy shit. That'll be our segment for next time. All right, everyone. We get a week off here because I think there's a World Superbike round. I don't know. You guys kind of want to do a Moto America race for Sonoma? Moto America round?
A lot of people want Moto America, dude.
I'm down.
We got so
I'm hella down. I watch those
down.
races. I'm down.
All right.
Down, yeah.
Well, let's wait till they get published on YouTube so I can watch it, and then we'll do that.
All right.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you very soon.